Hello friends, welcome to another edition of Bronco Sports Weekly. I'm Sean Fagan. We had a number of great results from competition this last weekend. We're going to lead it off with volleyball. Let's get right to it. Well, the Broncos maintained their lead in the MAC West Division with a dominant weekend at home, sweeping the Central Michigan Chippewas and the Eastern Michigan Eagles at University Arena. Middle blocker Jessica Brown had 27 kills and hit .482 over the course of the weekend, while Lena Oliver had 41 digs in 2 matches. The Bronco volleyball team has won 5 of their last 6 matches. They are 2 games off the lead in the overall conference standings, but they again have a 2-game lead in the MAC West Division. Football had a great day offensively on Saturday, but they weren't quite able to keep up with the Northern Illinois Huskies in falling 48-34 at Waldo Stadium. Tyler Van Tubergen threw for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns and ran for another. And Eric Monette had his first career multi-touchdown game. He recorded 8 catches for 142 yards and 2 scores. Darion Chance ran for 97 yards and a touchdown as well. Men's tennis competed at the Northwestern Wildcat Invite last weekend, closing out their 2012 fall schedule. A number of Broncos turned in solid performances this weekend, including Andrew Cahn, who we're going to hear from a little bit later. He reached the finals of the Flight B singles draw, and Aaron Wong, he reached the finals of the Flight A singles back draw. Great season, guys, and it'll be dual match season before you know it in January. Men's soccer dropped a tough road match last weekend, falling 2-0 to Buffalo. The Broncos led in shots and corner kicks, but WMU was unable to figure out goalkeeper Jonathan Viscosi. The Broncos will play their final 2 regular season matches this week, hosting Northern Illinois on Tuesday and closing out against Akron on Saturday. Those matches very important as the Broncos jockey for position in the MAC standings. Well, women's soccer completed its 2012 season last week, narrowly missing out on a comeback victory against Eastern Michigan. Nicole Hatcliffe scored her first career goal in the 31st minute to pull the Broncos within 2-1, but the Broncos couldn't quite get all the way back. Congratulations to the Broncos' 5 seniors on outstanding careers. Girls, you earned it. And now let's take a look at some of the highlights from last week. The football team hosted Northern Illinois on Saturday at Waldo Stadium in what turned out to be a high-octane offensive affair. In the first quarter, Van Tubergen connecting with Eric Monette. Their first touchdown connection of the game, Darion Chance would have 97 yards on the ground and a touchdown. The Broncos would roll up nearly 500 yards of offense. That included 146 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns for Monette, his first multi-touchdown game of his career. Van Tubergen threw for 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and ran for another as the Broncos tried to keep up with the high-paced offensive attack of the Huskies, but they fell 48-34. Bronco Volleyball now taking on the Central Michigan Chippewas, looking to avenge a loss earlier in the season. That game was played in Mount Pleasant. This one, it's in Kalamazoo. Allie Gosser going to rip one to the back corner cross court as the Broncos would be all over the Chippewas from the outset. Jess Brown would be on fire in both matches. She had 12 kills against Central Michigan. Stephanie Yancey getting in offensively in the act as well. The Broncos would sweep the Chips 3-0 on Friday. The volleyball team would be back in action on Saturday, taking on the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Both teams wearing special pink jerseys to commemorate the fight against breast cancer. Jessica Brown would be even better on Saturday than she was on Friday, notching 15 kills, hitting over .480 for the second match in a row as the Broncos took it to the Eagles. Rochelle Rainey would get the comebacker. She fired the first attack and then she put away the second to help the Broncos put away the Eagles in 3 sets. Jessica Brown and Taryn Norris had a fantastic night playing net defense as the Broncos controlled that net against Eastern Michigan. They would complete their second sweep in as many days, defeating Eastern Michigan 3-0. All right, I am now joined by a member of the Bronco men's tennis team. They wrapped up their fall season this past weekend at the Northwestern Wildcat Invite, but this guy in his first years had a pretty good start to his career. I'm talking, of course, about Andrew Cahn. Andrew, welcome to Bronco Sports Weekly.
Thank you.
So you made it to the finals of the Flight B singles draw at Northwestern this past weekend. Overall, you had a pretty good weekend. What's your assessment of it?
Yeah, I thought I played well. I played some good competition, some big schools, and maybe surprised myself a little bit. I won a couple easy matches early on and got to the finals, so I was happy with myself. Thought I played clean.
Now, obviously, one of the things while you guys were in competition this past weekend was your head coach, Dave Marine, was still here in Kalamazoo, but he was being inducted into the Western Michigan Athletics Hall of Fame. How special is that to be part of a program now where the active head coach. You only have 2 of them in this entire department, but the active head coach is in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, that's definitely very special, and it gives a great opportunity for me, especially being a freshman coming in and learning a bunch of new things that I know I'm learning from. I'm learning from a Hall of Fame coach that if you're in the Hall of Fame, you've clearly done a lot of things right over your career. So I've got a lot to learn, and it's great that he's going to be able to guide me through my career here, and I think I'll pick up a lot.
What would you say is the #1 quality or the most noticeable quality from Coach Marine's style or some of the things he's passed on to the team?
I think I'd say the most notable thing is how he's very willing and able to help every person individually. So he'll, I'm not the same as the other freshmen or the older guys. So he knows each person's individual struggles and strengths, and he can take us aside and tell us what he thinks we need to work on and what he would like to see from us. And I think he does a great job of that, assessing individually each one of us.
Now, this is your freshman season, and all things considered, you've gotten off to a pretty fair start. What's been the biggest adjustment you've had to make since getting into the college game?
I think the biggest adjustment might be, playing with some older kids that are 3 years older than me, upperclassmen that, have been playing and might have, bigger games, and they might be, more physically imposing than kids I would play in juniors. So I've had to work on, stepping up my game, maybe being more aggressive and, taking it to them, letting them know my presence.
So has there been any sort of specific mechanical adjustment or game style adjustment? You mentioned being more aggressive. More aggressive how?
Well, a lot of, coach and assistant coach also especially has worked on, taking right off the beginning of the point, taking an opportunity to hit a shot big, early on than maybe I was used to. And so kind of asserting myself in the point early on before, they could assert themselves on me.
Now, have you ever played, I guess you have played in a team tennis setting, and that's obviously going to start in January. How is team tennis different than what you've been doing this fall, where it's more draws and tournaments?
Well, I think it's probably more fun. It's probably, I played high school tennis, but, it's not the same level of competition. And I think it's going to be a fun experience having a whole team around you, rooting for you. And it gives you kind of a, extra adrenaline or excitement that you're playing with someone and for someone else. So your wins, if you get a win, it's not just your self-satisfaction. Everyone else on the team is enjoying that too.
All right, Andrew. Well, hey, thank you very much for joining us on Bronco Sports Weekly, and good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, here's what I'm watching for this weekend at number 5. I can't believe basketball season is already here. Both the men's and women's basketball teams will make their sort of debuts at University Arena this weekend, as the men's team will host 2 exhibition games and women's basketball will host the first of 2 exhibition games. The men's squad will host Kalamazoo College on Thursday and Roosevelt on Saturday, while the women's team will face Wayne State on Friday. Is it really already here? Got to get excited for Bronco hoops. Number 4, men's soccer will complete its 2012 regular season this week with a pair of matches, hosting Northern Illinois on October 30th and traveling to take on the Akron Zips on Saturday, November 3rd. The Broncos are battling with a number of teams for the 4th and final spot in the MAC tournament. Man, these wins could be huge in getting the Broncos to where they want to be. Number 3, volleyball will be on the road for their final regular season road matches, taking on the Ball State Cardinals and the Toledo Rockets in a pair of MAC West clashes. The Broncos currently sit alone atop the MAC West standings and are still in the hunt for the overall MAC lead, sitting 2 games behind Ohio. The Broncos beat both Ball State and Toledo at home earlier this season. Hockey will head to South Bend for a pair of road games as the Broncos take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on Friday and Sunday. Broncos had last weekend off, and they should be well rested for what should be an important pair of games. The puck drops at 7:35 on Friday and 5:05 on Sunday. And number 1, football will be in its biggest rivalry game of the year. This is always a big game when they hit the road to take on the Central Michigan Chippewas on Saturday. The Broncos will look to snap a 3-game losing streak when they face the Chips. If they perform as they did last year, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. WMU defeated Central Michigan 44-14 in Kalamazoo last year. Kickoff is scheduled for 1 p.m. on Saturday. That's always the most fun game of the year, and it's always fun to maybe take a bite out of the chips. And that's going to do it for us this week on Bronco Sports Weekly. I'm Sean Fagan saying join us again next week, same Bronco time, same Bronco place.